Hello, family, and welcome to another Practice with Me video. This is going to be, I think it'll be shorter. I'm not sure. We'll see. I've been having some back stuff lately, and usually if I'm tweaking my low back or my low back feels tight, it's because my hips are tight. So it's going to be a hip focused class today, or I should say session, because just a reminder, in these Practice with Me sessions, it really is I'm inviting you to practice with me. And that means that I'm really addressing things in my own body. But I will be dropping some really juicy programs soon where the classes will be more designed for my students instead of for me. So today it's about me, but I'm inviting you to practice with me. So this is my setup. And I also have it's a yoga strap. You don't need a yoga strap. If you don't have one, you can also grab a belt if you want. So just kind of pause the recording, grab a belt, or even if you have like a bathrobe, that belt that you have there will work really well. You can use like exercise bands, that would work too, or just don't use it at all. So I'm going to get started, and we're going to start on the floor, or I am, and I'm inviting you to start on the floor. So I am going to start on my back because I want to start opening my hips in reclined butterfly or Supta Baddha Konasana, which is the yoga word for that. So when I do these Practice with Me, I really am doing my own practice. And so what that means is I don't always start my own practices with a centering. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes I get right into it because I have other centering practices. Many times my physical practice is literally, I just like, okay, this is what I need. This is what I'm doing. And I use my asana or my pose practice like a tool. It's almost like medicine that I quote unquote take when I need it, and I craft it to what I need. So just bring the soles of the feet together, let your legs splay open. And I'm just letting gravity and time just open the hips. I'm not warm at all. I've been running around the house, but I don't know if that counts. But I'm using this sort of a yin position to just assess where my hips are, finding my edge in this moment and sitting with it. I'm also noticing if one hip is higher than the other and where that point happens. I'm not changing it right now. I'm just noticing because it'll inform me on how to move forward, which I also encourage you to do. This is how you start to make a physical yoga practice your own practice. As you kind of go inside and you start to drop into the body and feel what is happening for you. And so what I need today is probably very different for what you need today. So I encourage you to make adjustments. And what you need today may be related to time as well. So you may decide not to spend as much time, or you may need to pause the video at any time to spend more time in something or to repeat something. So I'm taking my hands to the outer thighs and just pressing them together, hug my knees in. I'm going to start with my right leg. I'm extending my left leg on the floor, hugging my right knee in. Roll the shoulders down and just draw the shoulder blades down the back. You have that floor as feedback, so use the floor. I'm giving it a pretty good hug. This position works for me. My fingers laced around my shin, but it may not work for you. So yours may look like this or something else, but I encourage you to really focus on the backs of your shoulders and where they hit the floor. So if you feel them moving this way, that's tightening through the neck and the chest. Go ahead and open that by sliding the shoulder blades down. And you can bring any movement to this if you need to. This side is a little more tight for me, and I'm just going to do my own exploration. You can kind of hang out here if you want. You can also bend this knee if that's too much, which is your left knee, and put your left foot on the floor. So I'm just going to start a little play here. I'm playing with Happy Baby. Again, this may or may not work for you. So find your own exploration. As I said, this hip is tighter and it's lifting up off of the floor more than the other side. So, and I can kind of feel that in the hip flexor. So I'm going to try to reset that. And I'm probably going to end up spending more time on this side because it's tighter. If I was teaching a typical class, I would try to spend equal time. But in this practice, I'm not, because I just don't need it on both sides. This is how you start to tailor your practice for you. And I'm changing the grip because it works for me. Again, you can do any sort of exploration. You can do hip circles if that's what works for you. You can just hold the knee to the chest. You can add a twist. You can play with straightening the leg. The hamstring's a little tight for me right now for that, but that's okay. You can try to pull the knee more toward the center of the chest. That's what works for me right now. It feels really good. Always coming back to your breath and focusing on the back of the jaw and how your breath is flowing right now. And I'm letting go of this side. You can keep holding on if you need to. That helped a lot. I can feel that hip release. It's not ever going to be perfect because we live in our bodies every day and we don't live in balance most of the time. So that worked on that side. Moving to the left. Just hugging the knee in. I'm, again, always focusing on where my shoulders are because I tend to push my shoulders to my ears. Which ends up being kind of painful for the neck. I feel like this ankle on this side needs a little more love, which is why I'm doing ankle circles on this side. I didn't do it on the other side. But again, in my own practice, I don't treat both sides the same. So again, finding your kind of your own exploration for what works for you. Doing a little bit of half Happy Baby. Always coming back to the breath. And the hamstring on this side is a little more forgiving. But this is my looser side as well. Now, again, you can keep holding on. I'm letting go of this side. This is not the side that's bugging me today, so I'm letting that go. And I'm using my yoga therapy here. But again, pause the video or spend more time on that side. I'm just doing a little assessment here. Just noticing what I feel. All right. I'm going to go into that banana. I think I've done this before, where I'm going to draw my legs all the way over to the right as far as they'll go. And then I'm going to take my left leg and cross it over. My arms come up and overhead. Hopefully my mic here doesn't like freak out. And I'm holding my left wrist with my right arm. And I'm just going to move my torso to the right. But my goal is to try to keep both shoulders down. It's like a big side bend. And you might start to feel this in the shoulders as well. And coming back to center, bringing everything back center. And I'm going to do the opposite sides. I'm taking my legs as far to the left as I can. I'll cross my right ankle over my left. And the arms come up, and this time I'm going to go the other way. I gotta remember what I did. I'm gonna hold on to my right hand with my right wrist with left hand. And I'm going to go all the way over to the left. So I'm making like this sort of C curve. Trying to angle this right shoulder down. It doesn't want to go again. That's my tight side. Coming back to center. I would come everything back to center. It's almost like if I was standing, this would be my mountain pose here. Just try to see, regroup, and then notice. And then coming to hands and knees for some cat-cow. So fingers spread wide, shoulders over the wrists, knees under the hips. Start by drawing my navel in a little bit. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, round the spine. Looking down toward the belly, down toward the knees, press the floor away. That's what feels good for me. I like to open the shoulder blades here. And then inhale the other way. So draw the shoulders down, lift the hips, lift the collarbones, lift the sternum, not really throwing the head back so much, but lift from the chest and exhale round. I'm going a little bit faster because that's what I want to do now. Inhale to lift. Exhale round. Now you can take this way slower than what I am. So do what your body is calling for. I want to bring a little bit of heat, so I'm going a little bit faster here. But do what you need. Couple more. And nice and long. Stepping my left leg forward. And then I'm going to really come into moving my whole body forward because I really want to work on this right hip flexor. That's been giving me a little bit of trouble. So I want to make sure, even though I have socks on, my toes are in line with the front of the mat for now. I might change that later, and I would do that on purpose. But I just kind of want to feel in here. So I'm going to bring some, for me, organic movement in there. You can hold it nice and still. I'm just sort of rocking side to side. I feel like that side is the one that's giving me a little bit of trouble. I can feel it in my back. I can also feel it in my knees. It's really interesting how everything is really connected. Now you may decide to hang out here. I'm going to play with lifting up a little bit. So you can keep your hands on the floor if that's too much. Make sure to relax the shoulders though. And I'm putting a lot of weight into this front foot so I can open this back hip flexor. Now that may be too much for you, so please do what works. And right now that feels really good. I'm just sort of relaxing into it, but I do feel a bit of sensation there. But I'm going to move really mindfully and really using the body wisdom and honesty and saying, okay, when's enough? When do I need more? Do I need more? Coming back down. This time I'm going to put both hands on the inside of my left foot. And I'm going to heel toe my left foot out to the side, just to the side of the mat. And from the hip, I'm going to lift the toes and rotate the hip out. So what I'm not doing is kind of making this stress for the knee. So I lift the toes and pivot on the heel to rotate out. So the entire leg moves. It's a little bit safer. And I'm going to play in here. It's a little different sensation. So I'm going to play with bending the elbows. And breathing in there. I might do some movement, just sort of wiggling back and forth, just sort of feeling what's going on in there. So this can be a little intense. So please take care. This may not work for you. And I'm going to play with bringing my right forearm on the floor again. Be careful here. My left forearm won't go all the way. That's okay. Always coming back to breath, always checking my jaw, my shoulders, I tend to hunch them. And then to come out, start with my left hand, placing my left hand on the floor, then my right, lift the toes, pivot on the heel toe the foot back to center. And I'm going to, this is organic now. I'm just sending my hips backward, flexing my front foot, making sure that my chest stays lifted. And then bringing it back. Down dog feels really good right now, so that's where I'm going. Do what feels good for you. I'm going to just walk the feet in place. I'm playing here, swiveling the hips a little. And then back to all fours. And I'm going to do something similar to the other side. So right foot steps forward. And I'm just starting with this lunge. I can feel it in this hip too. So this side's a way different experience. Taking a few breaths just to settle in. And a little shifting here. Every time I do stuff with my hips, I'm always fascinated, like what's going on in there. So I encourage you to be curious as well. Be curious without being judgmental, because it's a practice. It's seeing what's happening from day to day. I'm going to see what it's like to come up. Roll shoulders down, chin parallel to the floor. And finding that steady the steadiness in the mind. Because you, like, if you could know, and I can always tell too, if it's too much, if I can't be conversational, then I know it's a little bit too much. And what I'm trying to do is to relax into it. Again, you can keep your hands on the floor. This may not be appropriate for you. So take care. And both hands on the inside of my right foot, heel toe right foot out to the right, and then lift the toes. I'm going to turn the other way. I feel like I need to do that for you. Here we go. Okay, heel toe the right foot out to the right. Lift the toes, pivot on the heel so the entire leg moves out. And then go in. Now for this side, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get the forearms on the floor. And it's really not my left hip that's the issue for me, it's the right in this sort of externally rotated space. Not sure if it'll happen, and I'm not going to force it. So we'll see what happens. So taking my time and just adding a little movement, wiggle, that kind of thing. And then being curious. So I am going to be a little curious and see what happens if I put my left forearm down. Interesting. My right forearm not touching all the way, but I feel myself leaning more toward the left. Probably trying to take some of that intensity off of the right. So I'm not going to push into that because I am not trying to pull anything. I am not. That's just not happening. So actually, I'm going to come out of that, hang out here a little bit more because I can feel exactly where the resistance is. And I'm not willing to risk, put my pride before my health. I'm not going to do it. I could do it. Doesn't mean I'm supposed to, which is another good lesson. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. All right. So toes lifted, pivot on the heel. And I'm actually going to go right back into all fours, 2 down dog. Oh, that feels really good. And then knees to the floor. I'm going to come into sitting. I don't even know if I'm going to actually use that. I had plans for it, but I think I've changed my mind, which happens. Like, this is real life stuff. It happens. Inhale. I'm going to rotate. This is my right. And it's going to look like your left, perhaps. Lengthen, roll this right shoulder back. Just come to a twist with a long spine and honoring the body, stopping where the body stops. Inhale, center, and exhale, rotating the other way. Shoulders down, lengthen spine. So think about lengthen, fluid spine, not hard. And look over the left shoulder. Finding breath. See if you can get that rib cage to expand on the inhalation. And coming back to center. And I feel like I want to do that Supta Baddha Konasana again, just to kind of see A little before and after. This is going to be my last pose. Notice what you notice. For me, I notice a sort of aliveness in the hips, but also a softening. I also notice this sort of softening or release in my low back. Like for me, usually if my low back is talking to me, it is almost always directly related to my hips, especially my hip flexors. And you can stay here as long as you'd like. Pause the video or wait for the video to end. I'm going to go ahead and come out. Hands to the outer thighs. Use the strength of the arms to press the legs together, or at least help to guide them. And I'm going to hug my knees in because that feels good. So thank you so much again for practicing with me today. I'm probably going to do another practice today. I'm actually packing because I'm moving for a couple of months, a few months. And I got to pack to move, which is crazy. We'll talk about that later. Roll onto one side, press yourself up, or take some moments on that side if you'd like. So again, thank you for practicing with me today. If you're watching this from the Facebook group, I will be posting some of my offerings for yoga classes, yoga packages, so that are really more traditional. So they'll have like all of like the centering and some breathing and that kind of thing. It won't just kind of be what I feel like doing. It's really, they're made more for my students as opposed to me. So yeah, if you're watching from another media, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, maybe leave a comment. Would love to hear from you if they're positive. Thanks so much for practicing with me. Namaste.